Steve, Gary Bowyer over at Blackburn yesterday confirmed that Hull had been in touch regarding their striker Remy Gestede. He said there had been no firm offer yet. What's Hull's take on that?
Well, I called Gary 2-3 days ago to clarify the situation, and we talked very, very briefly about it, and really it was a non-starter before it got anywhere, really, if I'm being truthful. So, you know, I had a conversation, somehow that got into the media, and then it complicates everything. But certainly I inquired about him, was he available, and the answer came back that, well, as usual, everybody's got their price, but not at the sort of figures we were talking about. So it's not going to happen.
I mean, obviously, back in the summer transfer window, it's well known that you inquired about Jordan Rhodes. Is there any chance of going back there?
No, I mean it's always difficult at this time of year, and of course, especially in January. But you know, we invested a lot of money in the summer, to be fair, and unfortunately, you know, those investments, for one reason or another, are not available at the minute. I.e., they're injured. So you know, it's difficult at this particular moment because we have, as I said, invested a lot of money in the summer. So you know, we've got a little bit to spend, but we certainly haven't got that sort of amount of money which was available in the summer.
Talking briefly about Jelavic and Hernandez, I know there was some speculation earlier in the week they could be back as soon as the beginning of February. How are they progressing?
Well, they're progressing, but they've only been a week, 10 days since they've picked up both of the injuries. So there could be 3-4 weeks, but then again there could be 6 weeks. And the one thing with Jelavic in particular, he's had an operation on his knee and took a horrible whack to it, which has disturbed it. So we've just got to let that one settle down. And with Hernandez as well, it's a groin injury that's progressing, but we've just got to give it time. You know, time's the key to it. You know, so you know we've got a couple who are going to train today, Aluko and Ramirez. They'll come and train today and tomorrow, but it's their first training session today. If they do join in, they've done a lot with the physios and the doctors, so we'll see how they are today.
With that in mind then, and given you said you've got a little bit of money to spend, is it fair to say that you are looking to spend it on another striker?
Yeah, I would think so. It's I think with the two of them injured, you know, it's always the key end of the pitch. Of course, I've said that since I arrived. How many times I've said it, that you're only as good as your strikers. And if we're fit and everybody's healthy, then we're in a good place with them. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're not, because of one thing and another. So if we can strengthen in that department, that's one area where we'd look to try and do something, yeah.
Are there any active negotiations for particular?
They are, and somehow they'll leak out in the media, so I'm sure you'll find it. But there's one or two things going on at the moment. Whether we can progress anything today or tomorrow is unlikely. So we'll go with what we've got against West Ham, and then we've still got a couple of weeks to see if we can try and bring one or two bodies in at least. That will give us a fighting chance.
Finally then, how confident are you of being able to secure somebody?
Well, the one thing I've never ever wanted to do is just secure somebody. That's easy. What we've got to do is make sure that, you know, they can hit the ground running, if you like. You know, it's an important time. Usually with that, you've got to go and spend a colossal sum of money. So it is going to be difficult, but, you know, we've got to find the right one, and we're working every hour God can get to try and persuade somebody to come and join us, and we'll keep trying.
Tom Ince, yesterday Hull were told they'd have to pay a fee in the region of £2 million to Blackpool. For how much of a bonus is that, when much of the speculation seemed to be that figure might be the region?
Well, I think it's fair. I think it's fair. I think there's been a lot of hype about Tom, and rightly so with what he did at Blackpool. You know, he's only young, and I still think there's a development in him. Even though he started young at Blackpool, as I said, he's still got to give him a chance and find his way in the Premier League. There's not many 21-year-olds playing regular in the Premier League. So Ince, particularly Tom, has got to, we've got to just let him develop, and he's done particularly well for us. We're pleased with his progress, but I still think there's a lot to come.
West Ham United this weekend, you don't need telling, it's very congested down at the bottom end of the table. Potentially a tough game, but when you met them here earlier this season, you had the better of it from us.
That was a great game. It was a really good game of football, and I did say to Sam that he's got the makings of a very, very good team. And, his signings in the summer, particularly Sacco and Valencia, and then, of course, Andy Carroll getting fit, has given him a huge boost in that department. So they look a really, really good outfit. I watched the game against Everton the other night, and it was a classic cup tie, where a great game to watch. So let's hope it can be as good as a spectacle as that, and we go and try and take them on and get something out of the game.
Were you sat there watching it with a wry smile on your face as it went into extra time?
Well, they've got through, and sometimes now they've got through, West Ham, so they've got through. So that fatigue, what you're hoping they would get. There was one time Andy Carroll went down, and I have to be honest, saying I don't really wish him bad luck, but he went down in the second half, and you thought, is he going to stay down? But you don't really want that in any player, but it does give you a hand now and again. But no, in being serious, they're a really good side, and we'll have to be certainly at our best if we're going to try and get something.
How difficult is it to prepare for somebody like Andy Carroll, who's obviously got an aerial threat, but quite clearly is useful?
Well, I think a big thing of Andy is him staying fit, and he's had an awful time through injuries. He looks, what I seen the other night anyway, and the Swansea goal in particular. And I think it's unfair, that's just his aerial ability. I think Evie showed everybody against Swansea that he's got good feet too for the size of him. It's not often somebody 6'4" can score a goal like that. So he's got many attributes, and the one thing about the lad is you understand that you're physically against the centre half of them. My centre defenders on the weekend, they know they're going to be in for a game. So I hope that we relish the challenge of it. And he's been key to them for me. Just at the time when Valencia and Sacco pick up an injury, they've been able to bring Andy Carroll back in, which has certainly helped Sam.
And just finally, the Ballon d'Or was awarded this week. Did you agree with the decision?
Oh, I think I agree with most. I mean, to get 63 goals in a season, I mean, blimmin' heck, it's ridiculous. So we did make an inquiry for a Christian, but unfortunately he might just be a little bit above us, I think. But I think it was warranted. I think he's been a fantastic player and deserves the accolade.
Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Steve, I think a couple of your targets have sort of slipped through now. I think Sonogo's gone, Defoe's gone. Are you sort of, is that worry you that they're sort of...
Well, now we were in, but then again, as I said repeatedly with Jermaine in particular, Sonogo, we got it straight away that, you either wanted to go to France or stay in London. Which, when it's like that, you move on to the next one. And certainly with Jermaine, I think what's obviously helped Sunderland is, of course, of the swap deal, which helps their cause. And simply, it was we wish him the best of luck, but it was too rich for us, so we move on to the next one.
How obviously every manager goes through these injury problems, but how compared with your whole managerial career, how bad is this?
I don't think we've had it so bad. I don't think. Well, it looks like I'm not going to be able to pick what I think is my strongest team with the loss of Snodgrass, and I think that summed us up in the first game of the season. Snodgrass did his knee after 22 minutes, and we haven't seen him since. And when we invest something like 8 million, I mean, my budget was quite substantial in the summer. We spent a lot of junk on Robert, and I think that summed it up. But the one thing you can't do is use it as an excuse. It's been difficult. There's no question about that. For one thing and another, even Dawson's only played 50% of the games. Diami 50% of the games he's been available. So it has been difficult, but we'll just have to keep on with it. It's no good feeling sorry for yourself. It's happened. And of course, what you do then is you look at training methods, and you look at this, and you look at the other. At the end of the day, they've all happened in games. So when you pick the injuries up in games, there's sort of all you can do about it, unfortunately. Shouldn't use that word, should I? Sorry. Frustrating though, I have to tell you.
Sure. and under Sam, I think West Ham are 7th at the moment.
Well, I mean, it just shows they were in our position last year, and there was lots of calls for Sam in the summer in particular, and I think I can say this because I recall him as one of my mates, that he's proved again of what a really, really decent good manager he is, and he's proved it again if he ever had to. You know, he's got the team playing in a certain way, which, you know, was a criticism, but you know, if you look back at what he did at Bolton, you look back at what he did at everywhere he's been, he always does a good job, and he's been going for a long, long time. He's been going as long as me, so he's proved what a very, very good manager he is again if he ever had to.
Yeah. And you know, do you think it's unfair people criticise his style of his play?
It's the style of the play the other night was fantastic. I don't know what, you know, you get labelled sometimes and you get tagged with something, and I think Tram's tried to allude to before to be called an Italian name or whatever it was. I think most of us in the game know that's a load of rubbish. And you know, in the players he's managed people like Anelka and Joe KF and people like that who've played for him at Bolton. So I think all this playing in this way is, I think he's been a little bit pigeonholed. I think it's a bit unfair.
You know, you mentioned that Ramirez and Luku could be back in training today. If they're not fit, or if you have to put them on the bench, what's your plan B up front?
Well, we've obviously got a plan B. We're obviously restricted of what we can do. Of course we are. And as I've said to you repeatedly, it's the most important part for me is how good you are up front, especially in this league or any league, how good your strikers are. And that's why they're paid so much. That's why they cost so much money than everybody else, because they can do something what other players can't, i.e. score a goal. So of course we've got a plan B. We've got something in our mind. I mean, of course, with the problems we've got, first thing that comes into my mind is it too quick for Ramirez and Luka? They've just come back. Then they haven't trained with us since they've been injured. So is it right to shove them into a game one? But they played very well against Sunderland together. So we'll see how they are today, see how they are tomorrow. And of course, you have a plan B, and at the moment, I've even talking about plan C. Not that it's working very good, but you can understand the problems what we've got.
Is that Yanic Wildschut, something like that? Will he be in your plans?
Well, Yanic appeared for us 30 times last year, and certainly did very, very well for us. For one reason or another this year, he's found it difficult. And it's a big, if Yanic it's a big month for Yanic, because there's been talk, whether his head's been turned by agents and all the rest of it, I ain't so sure. If he does and he gets the chance, then he's got a chance like everybody else has, you know. And the one thing here is you have to go and perform on the pitch. And unfortunately, with Sanik at the moment, he needs to go and perform on the pitch to warrant a place.
Sure. Now, he may move out, he may not, but you've talked about the expense, particularly regarding Jermaine Defoe. How much wriggle room do you have in the market, given the financial fair play rules?
Well, of course, that's. I mean, going forward, the club's in no problem with the financial fair plays. If anybody's studied it, really, we've got into UEFA, and because in the last 3 years we're in the Championship, then our figures don't add up. Going forward, the club is in its very, very healthy situation, of course, and rightly so. So it is difficult at this particular moment because we have got that problem, which I'm sure when the investigation and we prove to UEFA and whatever you, that everything will be okay. But we did invest, and it's, you know, we can't just keep asking the chairman to put his hand in his pocket. You know, he's done it for the last 3 years, to be fair to him. So we've got a little bit of money, we've got something to spend. I've got a little bit in wages and of what we had from the summer. So I've got to try and bring in somebody that can come and give us a hand at this particular moment, and also going forward can be part of the squad, which is going to be vital.
Sure, but even if the chairman had the deepest pockets in the world, you would still be restricted, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would be restricted. We would be restricted at the moment, yes. But I think, you know, I think going forward with that, I think with all supporters, it's a difficult one to understand, but everybody's under this financial fair play. It's starting to kick in. It's been going now for the last couple of years. We've seen clubs in the Championship in particular, you know, got transfer embargoes on them. We're nowhere near that. And as I said, it's all arises really from we're here in the Championship, which I think everybody's consensus has been okay.